Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to your favorite basketball podcast. This is Sitting Courtside, episode number 75, 3/4 of a century. Can you believe it? Can you believe we've made it this far? We can.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome back, guys. As always, my name is Dante.
It's Jerry D.
We are a few days removed, a little less than a week removed from the trade deadline, as well as we're still reeling from coming down from the Luka Doncic and the Anthony Davis trade. That is still on the forefront of our minds because of how shocking it was and how much it affected the NBA so far, even though Luka, well, as of this recording, hasn't played for the Lakers yet. He is making his debut tonight against the Jazz. Anthony Davis did make his debut for the Dallas Mavericks, Jerry, and oh my gosh, did he come out swinging for the Dallas Mavericks. He had like 24 points in the first half. I think he had a double-double or close to a double-double in the first half, was absolutely dominating, and then he leaves the game with an injury. I hate to say this, Jerry, and I told my friends this, and I felt terrible because I wasn't watching the game. I tuned into the game a little bit after it started. But I'm following this game, and I see how well he's playing, and I'm thinking to myself, man, what a shame it would be if he got hurt or something happened. And I watched this man walk off the court, and I couldn't believe it. So Anthony Davis, as we now know, is out for multiple weeks, could be a month with a left adductor strain, excuse me.
Yep.
This is an injury that's been lingering since, when he was in LA. He got injured there, kind of carried over. Now it's looking like he's going to miss some time. Some notes I have here. What I'm going to ask you, Jerry, is wondering if they can make a playoff push still. They're currently 28 and 25, 8th in the West. Again, this is a February 10th, so keep that in mind as well. This podcast comes out in a few days. The standings and all that could be different. Mark Cuban supposedly tried to step in and stop this trade as well, but it might be too late. I think he may have looked into a crystal ball and saw something that no one else did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just want to get your overall thoughts on the injury, what it means for the Dallas Mavericks, and what it can mean for his teammates in the future of the Mavs, if this is something that affects their playoff hopes, if they don't make the playoffs, whatever. So, floor is yours. Just give me your thoughts.
Yeah, I think I need to start this one hot as fish grease, man. In the words of Mark Jones here, I think the Dallas Mavericks are about to implode. It looks kind of like the writing's on the wall. Like I know they just got Anthony Davis, but the automatic expectation is for the Dallas Mavericks when they made the trade was that you guys have to get to the NBA Finals again and actually win it this time, since you sold the Luka Doncic stock out of your organization.
Championship or bust.
It has to be, and that's the definition.
Literally.
Kyrie's entering the contract year. Anthony Davis was playing the best basketball of his career, arguably, as official.
He could have had the best game of his career before he left.
Yeah, like literally 40-20 game here in Charlotte, and then dips off, and he's traded out of nowhere. He gets to Dallas, balls out like you mentioned, and then the abductor strain comes back into being a thing. So I personally think that the Mavs won't make the playoffs this year. I'd like, with how things are currently going, for AD to miss a month, it's mid-February right now.
That's a lot of time. That's a lot of time this time of the year.
And the West is tough, man. Like there isn't a lot of like gimme games that probably going to be on their schedule. I'm not really quite sure what it looks like if you want to pull that up for us real quick.
I'm just looking at the regular standings right now, and the Dallas Mavericks are 8th, like I mentioned. They're a game and a half up of the Kings, Suns, and Warriors, who are all tied for the 9th seed, and only 4.5 games up on the Spurs, which we'll talk about in a little bit of the moves that they made. So, we might see a little second half jump from them. They're a game and a half back of the Clippers, 2 games of the Wolves for the 6th seed. I mean, it's just, they're in a weird spot right now where things can they can hold and they can stay right in the middle there in the play-in, or they could implode, they could collapse.
That's going to be tough. Think about with Anthony Davis being out, Derek Lively is also going to be out for at least another few weeks as well.
Yeah,
so that means it's just Daniel Gafford, Klay Thompson, PJ Washington. They traded for Caleb Martin and Kyrie Irving running the show. Like that.
Want me to throw you the next few games at you?
Absolutely.
So the next few games they have are two teams that are right in the same area as them is Sacramento, Golden State. Then they have Miami, New Orleans, Golden State again. I'm just gonna do their next 10 games. LA, the Lakers, Charlotte, Milwaukee, Sacramento, Milwaukee again. So
that's a tough schedule.
That's a tough schedule. You have Sacramento there twice, like I mentioned. They're going to be competing for a play-in spot. They made moves as well. Milwaukee, the Lakers. The Lakers. I mean, that's going to be a fucking revenge game and a half for Luka Doncic. So,
and they're not even going to have the guy they got.
And they're not even going to have a guy to combat it exactly. And then post that, they have Memphis, Phoenix, San Antonio, twice in a row. Houston. It's a tough schedule. This is a tough time to miss. If this was obviously like they got Anthony Davis a month ago and he missed that month and he's back now, different. But like leading into March, that's hard.
No, it's rough. And plus, look, I don't condone any of the actions of the Dallas Mavericks fans threatening Nico Harrison's life and all this other stuff.
Like, yeah, you can be mad at a trade, but don't threaten a man's life.
I don't agree with any of that, so I don't condone that. But I will say that this will go down as possibly the worst trade in NBA history.
Sure.
If these guys miss out on the postseason, and then in the offseason, Kyrie decides to leave because he doesn't like the direction of the organization. I know it's February. He
does have a player option, though. That is not crazy to look forward and think that way, because Kyrie Irving, I know it's like, him and AD, they're talking about how they wanted to team up for years and stuff, and they finally have the opportunity. Me and you are big Kyrie fans, right? We basketball, on the court, one of the most special players. But when it comes down to it, I mean, in all honesty, that man's mind can change in 2 seconds. So right now he's saying that we've been waiting years to do it. Anthony Davis, let's say he misses the rest of the year, or like this injury lingers or whatever, and Kyrie sees the opportunity to get out of there, and maybe he decides to go to the Lakers, or he decides to go. I don't know, but I think he would do that. I don't think it's crazy to think that he would get up and dip. Yeah. Especially because he was there to team with Luka. And that's like what was, that was presented to him at first, right? I know he got traded there, whatever, but now the team is a lot different, and yes, although they can still be competitive, and if Davis didn't get hurt, I believe that they could have been a top seed in the West, but, I don't know. Things happen quick in the NBA, and it wouldn't shock me if Kyrie got his way out.
Yeah, like I think we talk about this all the time and just how fickle the league is in general with player movement. I just imagine throwing an egg into a frying pan and how quick things go from sunny side up to scrambled. Like, this is exactly how I'm looking at the Mavs organization. They literally
actually couldn't have been worse. Him starting off so hot and then just it crumbling down.
It was a slight little brief, wow, maybe we're gonna
You can't write anything better than that. It's tough. It's tough, man. Obviously, hoping the injury is not as severe as, it seems to be. Hopefully he can come back a little sooner than expected, because it would be cool. It would be interesting to see how far the Mavs could go healthy. But unfortunately, this could really cause quite the slide for them down the rankings in the West. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But all right, we'll move on from that, and we'll move on from something talking about sliding here. So the trade deadline has come and gone, and we will get into other big moves that happened. But there was one move that happened that got rescinded, is not happening anymore. So the Lakers traded for Mark Williams on the Charlotte Hornets because God knows they needed a starting center. God knows they needed someone to start over Jackson Hayes. They traded Dalton Connect. I believe it was their 2031 first round pick, or is it 2031 first round pick? A few other things thrown in there as well. And Mark Williams failed his physical. And what the unfortunate thing is, Jerry, I feel bad for you because this sucks. The issue is that this all happened at post deadline. So now you either take the deal the way it is, or you send it back. And man, it must have been a bad physical for the Lakers to have sent that back, because, man, the fact that they're now moving forward, again, post-deadline, can't make any – they can go into the buyout market if they wanted to. I don't know who's there. You're trusting Jackson Hayes. You're putting a lot of value on Jackson Hayes, a lot of pressure on his shoulders. And I don't know I don't know how that's going to go. I feel bad for guys like Dalton Connect and Mark Williams because it's like you have to go through that process of getting traded, the emotions of, leaving where you are and moving, whatever, just to get called back and be like, hey, nope, you get back on the plane. You're coming back home. So yeah, just I want to get your overall thoughts, Jerry, as a Lakers fan yourself. How this you think affects the Lakers moving forward, the Hornets as well. I mean, actually, this affects you in multiple ways as a reporter and as a fan. So please give me your insight and what you think. What do you make of this move?
Uh, I think the Hornets might have burned a lot of bridges.
You think so?
It's not a good look to when you make a trade with the player and then the other team evaluates their guy. I think Mark Williams was supposed to play sometime last week.
Mm-hmm.
They sit him as out because it's like, okay, he's still kind of hurt. Then when they run their physical on him, apparently, this is me speculating, but they rescinded the trade after the physical.
Mm-hmm.
That goes to tell me that Mark Williams, who for the last couple years now sat out the rest of last season with a back issue, then started out the season with some foot issues. And during the media day, which some guy like retweeted my tweet from media day, like this is all I could think about, which is Mark Williams saying that I don't know why people label me as injury prone. This is just a minor setback. I'm paraphrasing, but it's a minor setback.
Mm-hmm.
I'll come back better than ever. This minor setback has affected his play because, again, guys, I covered the Charlotte Hornets, and even when the Lakers made the trade, I wasn't ecstatic because Mark Williams can't guard and pick and roll situations. Mark Williams doesn't press up on 3-point spacing bigs like a Brook Lopez who torched him for like 3 threes in a row, or a Bobby
Anthony
Portis.
Davis is the one that had 40 and 20 on him a few weeks ago. Granted, it's Anthony Davis, but
guess what Nikola Jokic did after they played the Lakers? 27, 18, and 13. Like,
yeah, I was a little weary of the trade at first. Grant, just like seeing how much, like, I don't know. I saw the package, right? And I just thought the return name would have been bigger. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not like discrediting Mark Williams. I think he's a great young center, and health wise, when he's healthy, he is great. But that is a lot to give up for a young center who
absolutely
has injury history, and as we see now,
and
really
that's
has
why I never
injury
loved
problems.
it. That's why I didn't like it. It didn't make sense. Like, again, covering the Hornets and seeing him in the building, there just always seemed like there was something that was off. And now I think with this officially coming out where the trade's rescinded, if I'm the Hornets, or if I'm any team in the league that's gonna make deals with this team in the future, it's like, well, you might sell me damaged goods,
Right.
Because they just tried
Right.
to. And we talked about a little bit with the other pending trade that they have with Cody Martin and Vasa Micic, where Cody Martin had a sports hernia. Like, that's a back issue. Like, that's kind of long term. So now that trade is pending, and Nurkic is sitting in Charlotte waiting, doesn't know.
Yeah, they got Nurkic. They got Nurkic. Now they got Williams and Nurkic. Yeah, this is very confusing. I just pulled up the trade detail because I wanted to get it right. I forgot the exact details. So it was Mark Williams, Cody Martin they have in here. Then the Hornets got Dalton Connect, Cam Reddish, 2031 unprotected pick, and 2030 pick swap. Now, granted, with the picks, obviously you get Luka. The value of those kind of goes down a little bit, right? The long term, the future, you're looking at the Lakers then, the future's a little bit brighter than it was a week or two ago. But yeah, it's crazy. I don't know. I thought the Lakers would have more so went all in on a bigger name. Obviously, they definitely tried and couldn't, or came up short, whatever it may have been. But it's tough, man, because it's a situation that, again, you're saying it makes the team look bad, but also like the Lakers, man, like that is just a tough blow for a team that, like we don't expect them to make a deep playoff run, right? It's hard to even imagine them making it, past the first round or something like that if they even make it that far. But now that you lose, like you don't get the center that you wanted to get at the deadline, the guy that was really supposed to help out this lineup of Luka and LeBron. I don't have a lot of faith that they're gonna make a run here. I don't even know. I think they can make the play-in, but I don't know if they'll even make it past that. I'm not going to doubt Luka Magic or sleep on it, but the chances have gone down significantly for me.
I think seeing what they look like tonight, guys are recording again the day before, the day of the game, so we don't know how it's going to look. But
yeah, they could come out tonight and it could be the best thing we've ever seen in our lives, and I'll take back everything that I said.
It's going to be interesting to see what that dynamic looks like, and apparently, reportedly, Luka was Luka handpicked Mark Williams, like to go get
Mm,
him. Like that was a Luka move. Which,
damn.
by the way, LeBron's camp took notice. Like, oh, okay, he has the type of sway. But conversation for another day. We'll see how that develops. But Luka and LeBron, how well can the two of them play together? I know they can coexist, but I think it's more so about finding an impact and finding a happy median between who's
Mhm.
on and off ball throughout certain possessions. And also, you mentioned it, Jackson Hayes is going to get thrusted into the starting center role where
God bless him.
he
God
fits
bless him.
he fits that mold of player that Luka
He
wants
does.
in the verticality, like, being able to catch lobs and stuff with the athleticism. But the defensive and offensive intangibles are just not there all the time.
Yeah. They're big holes. Yeah, they're big hole. I'm excited for the game tonight. It is gonna be exciting to see how those two work together.
Yes.
It'll be very interesting to see just the Lakers team moving forward because now Jackson Hayes. I don't want to make it sound like I'm a hater. Yeah, I'm not trying to shit
No.
on the guy, but it really is tough. Like that's who you have to roll with going into the playoffs.
And you know
But
what?
yeah, well,
There's no choice. I think right now I'm very much on the wait and see side. I'm not going to count him out quite yet, but I'm a little anxious. Like, how is this going to play out?
hey man, he doesn't fit that mold or anything like that. But Daniel Tice is on the buyout market. I think the Lakers looking for a nice vet. He did well in Boston his few years. I think you should take a look at him. Might be a good starting center for you guys going into the
I think we can move on now.
playoffs. All right, fine. We can move on. We have one last topic here. We have some other, obviously, trade deadline ended last week. There was a lot of big trades. Anthony Davis and Luka Doncic weren't the only. They were the biggest names to get traded, but they weren't the only big names to get traded. I'm going to list off a few guys here. We'll get into the trade details and stuff. But we saw trades: Jimmy Butler to the Warriors, De'Aaron Fox to the Spurs, Zach LaVine to the Kings, Kyle Kuzma to Milwaukee, Chris Middleton, God bless him, joining the Washington Wizards. Dennis Schroeder got traded for the fourth time in 2 days, going to Detroit, and the Raptors got Brandon Ingram. So we'll break it down one by one here. I think we'll start with probably the biggest name besides Luka and AD, Jimmy Butler. We know the fucking saga that went on in Miami for the last, feels like more than a month, but probably just the last month, and finally get shipped off to Golden State. There was a lot of reports going around. He didn't want to resign there. He wouldn't have resigned there. There was talks of KD potentially getting involved. The Warriors initially wanted Kevin Durant, and then he said no. And then there were talks of multiple team trades that didn't come to fruition, but Jimmy Butler did get traded to Golden State. The Miami Heat got Kyle Anderson, Andrew Wiggins, Davion Mitchell, and a first rounder in 2025 in return. Honestly, I think like for both sides, the Heat, they move on. They got Andrew Wiggins, who I saw there was like an interview that said like Pat Riley asked Jimmy Butler years ago, like, who's the most talented player you've ever played with when he signed with Miami? And he said Andrew Wiggins. So funny that he swapped out Butler for Wiggins there. But I think that for the Heat, you get you get a handful of players that could help out your roster, right? Neither of them are at the level of a Jimmy Butler, but guys that can contribute. You get a first out of it. Then Jimmy Butler goes to Golden State, and he isn't, was he the Warriors' first option for a superstar teammate next to Steph? Maybe not. But he definitely does add something to the team that's different in the sense of like he doesn't shoot like Steph. He's more of a gritty defensive player, hard-nosed player than Steph, I'd say. But one game together, I believe they won their first game together.
25
So
apiece or something like that. They combined for
yeah,
like 59 or whatever it was.
yeah. So they're off to a good start together. I think both are. I mean, Jimmy Butler signed also failed to mention a 2-year, $120 million extension immediately after going there. So obviously he has no issue being there. But just what are your initial thoughts there, Jerry? What do you think of the fits there? You think Jimmy Butler is going to take the Warriors to the next level? Is he going to save the franchise this year? Or what are you thinking?
Well, before we officially get to, I guess, the what's important talks for the sake of this conversation, I got to say, Jimmy Butler butt heads with the godfather of the NBA and Pat Riley and won.
He won. He did.
Which is like, yeah, I get that he wanted to force his way to Phoenix. That didn't happen. you still got a W by going to the Warriors and playing with, first ballot Hall of Famers and Draymond and Steph, like, and
Yep.
even Steve Kerr, like, will be even more immortalized here. Like, it's impressive that Jimmy actually won, but to get to what you actually asked, like, I think the Warriors do creep back up into these Western Conference standings. We mentioned the Dallas Mavericks earlier, to where now I think the Mavs are going to slide with AD missing a
Right.
substantial amount of time. And the Warriors will be one of those teams that ascend. They should be peaking at the right time. Jimmy's probably one of those other guys, I think, that you could plug in a lot of different situations. And he actually makes sense. For the Warriors, they needed another shot creator and a guy that could also create for others, not just Draymond or Steph doing it. So throwing Jimmy Butler into the fold of what they have going on already offensively makes a lot of sense. From the defensive standpoint, you got two of the most high IQ guys on that end of the floor together. And guess what? They're both assholes, allegedly. So I think the refs are going to have some hard times managing emotions for that team, but
Yeah.
it's going to
Fair.
look great to see, like, as time progresses, those two guys just barking orders at one another and the rest of the team. That makes me really happy. Like, that, it's actually kind of oddly satisfying. I thought him going to Phoenix probably would have been, maybe better, I guess, just because it's
Sure.
Kevin Durant and it's Devin Booker, and it's like, oh, make it work. But this is a very good consolation prize to where you were probably meant to be here instead of Phoenix anyway.
Sure. Yeah. No, I think it's honestly, like, is it a perfect fit? I don't know. We've only seen one game so far, but I think, again, so far so good. I think, Steph and Draymond, with their history of winning, they know what it takes, and they're as hungry as ever. They want to still compete at this age, so I'm sure that we'll see the Warriors. I don't think it's going to make them worse. We'll put it that way. I don't think they're going to go down the rankings. But moving on, this trade, actually, I think this happened when we recorded last week, but we had too much stuff going on with Luka and Anthony Davis, so we decided to save it for this week. But De'Aaron Fox gets traded to San Antonio. It was a multiple team deal, so a lot of moving pieces, but eventually what it came down to be was Fox to San Antonio, and the Sacramento Kings got Zach LaVine. The Kings also got Valanciunas from another deal, so the Kings are kind of doing their thing right now. Right now I think their lineups like Malik Monk, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, who are reunited, both teammates a few years. Now they're reunited, except for Vucevic. Now they have Sabonis and Valanciunas. So
yeah,
they definitely, I mean, I don't know. The Kings traded De'Aaron Fox. Like they lost the best player in all of this, right? But like Zach LaVine's, like, we've talked about him before. Like, he's a 20-point per game scorer, like very good shooter, playing like athletic, going to the basket, everything like that. Valanciunas isn't the best center in the league, but I don't think he's the worst. It's just a weird team they've put together. Like, I mean, I think they're still gonna be competitive for sure, but like, I don't know. Obviously, again, losing Fox is the bigger name here, but I'm just curious what you think, because like they lost the trade, but they're still competing. So I don't know.
I I, I don't really know what to say
It's
about it.
weird. It's
Like,
weird, right?
I kind of feel like if you were trying to go for a rebuild or go for a retool, you would have got like better pieces in return or something like that. But
Right.
when you trade for Zach LaVine, initially I'm thinking, oh, like, maybe him and De'Aaron Fox. Oh, no, De'Aaron Fox is a 3-team deal. Oh, okay.
Right.
By the way, the Bulls didn't get any first round picks out of trading LaVine.
Nothing. Nope.
Hilarious. But
Caruso, Levine, DeMar, all gone. No thirsts out of it.
crazy. Conversation for another day when I feel like
Mhm.
bragging on them.
I
But
don't listen. You know how I feel about the Bulls. I can sound off when we have that episode.
but Zach LaVine ending up there, I really don't know what to make of it. I still think that they might slide a little bit, but the team's competitive enough to where they could stay wedged into that playing picture, which is, I guess,
And they were looking good the last few weeks. Like after the
yeah.
whole thing with Mike Brown, they were looking fine.
They
You know what I
started. They
mean?
won like 8 of their 10 games with Doug Christie, like the first
Yeah.
10 games. So I mean, like, they're not a terrible team. I don't think anybody knows their direction, including them. Like, that's
Right. Yeah.
the
I mean,
weird
is
part
this
about
this
it.
obviously isn't a move that resolves anything in the long term. You get
No,
Zach LaVine. He's not a player that you look to have for the next 5 years or something like that. You know what I mean?
What I
Like
can't say,
the timeline, the ages are so weird.
that's
Levine,
the thing I don't
DeMar,
get.
Sabonis, like it's so strange.
But shout out to them for taking Domas and pairing him with Valanciunas, their Lithuania countrymen. I guess it's like, oh, my brother, like, hey, it's kind of cool in that regard that I guess they're
Right.
taking care of their franchise player in Sabonis, if we can call him that.
But they ain't winning shit.
Nah.
We'll take care of you, but we're not gonna win a ring. So
But what I will say though, before we move on, just I think the Spurs won the trade for the next 10. Spurs had the best trade this deadline for the next 10 years.
I felt like the Spurs didn't really give up a lot, and they gave
Exactly.
up picks, but like the picks aren't like anything like they're heavy protected or they're just like whatever. Like they already and they still have a stash of picks, so it's
Yep.
like they were very like they could get rid of some. And I will add as well, the Spurs adding to winning the deadline, like you said, they have the Atlanta Hawks pick this year, unprotected. And guess who gave up some key rotational players this deadline? The Atlanta Hawks. So that and Jalen Johnson's out for the year. So
Yep.
that is if the
They look
Spurs
like
get the
geniuses.
number one pick this year, man, Christ Almighty, Christ Almighty, that is going to be nuts.
I just need Charlotte to be rewarded that, please. Please.
Listen, I don't know if I want San Antonio to get Cooper Flag. I mean, I'm all for like this, like seeing this, this young team doing great things, whatever. But I do want the rest of the league to be competitive. So
Yeah.
I would like it if they did get the first pick.
It's insane though, because I think everybody's kind of trending towards this having dynamic duos now. Like, the Tatum and the Browns, the SGA and the Chet or J Dub, whoever you want to put as a second
Sure.
fiddle. But De'Aaron Fox and Wemby moving forward for the next 5+ years potentially. And you got to keep Stephon Castle.
Oh yeah, that's a big piece too. They got to keep, and they could use him. They have other pieces that you could use in trades down the line this offseason.
I hope they don't, man. I think Castle stays, bro.
Oh, not even just him, but like more picks, other bigger contracts and stuff, like movable contracts. This offseason, I think there's going to be a few big name players that are going to look at San Antonio and be like, that might be a place I want to go. So I am excited to see what San Antonio, and they are right now, they are
the 10,
3 games back of the 10 seed. So have some, they have to make up for some space here, but I think they could definitely sneak in at the tail end of the season. Okay. Next trade we have. I did want to talk about this. I mentioned it last when I was going through the rundown, but this one definitely was. I think this was the most confusing to me, or just like I don't know. Brandon Ingram gets traded to the Toronto Raptors. The Pelicans get Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, first and second round picks. I get it. Like the Pelicans, DeJounte Murray out for the year. Speedy recovery to him. He was playing the Celtics when that happened. It was tough to see. They traded Brandon Ingram. And by doing this, I'm thinking, okay, they're rebuilding. They're gonna trade Zion. They might trade CJ, whatever. They keep both of them. They're last in the Western Conference right now. I'm also like the Pelicans getting rid of him is one thing, but then the Raptors getting him. I thought that was kind of a strange move. It's not strange, but just like one of those like, why like did you need to do that? Like I don't think it's a move that like Brandon Ingram's a good player. Don't get me wrong, but like it's just a weird just like trade to happen, and I don't think it changes much of the East rankings or the Raptors odds or nothing like that. I think it's just they invested or they're giving it a shot, see where it goes, and if it doesn't go anywhere, then you still have RJ quickly and Scotty Barnes. So
yeah,
I don't know, strange.
I kind of feel like it could be one of those situations where they're just trying to stockpile talent.
Sure. Yeah, maybe.
After getting RJ Barrett and getting Emmanuel quickly to put alongside Scotty Barnes, was like, okay, you have your potential 1, 2, and 3 for the next few years. But I think getting Brandon Ingram gives them that versatility to also have Scotty play the 4 or have Ingram play the 4, depending on how they want to.
And yeah, Poto there as well, who, their center who's very, very good.
It's an interesting, tall, big, young core.
Very tall lineup.
Because RJ Barrett's like 6'6", 6'7", Brandon Ingram 6'10", Scotty 6'9", 6'10". So maybe the thought here, if I'm a Cy Ujiri, is trying to get proven talented guys. Like RJ has proven talent, Brandon does quickly, probably a little questionable, but has a talent. Like I can't justify what they're doing, but I think besides a smart guy, I think later on in the
Right.
offseason, maybe it'll start to come together. We'll see something there.
Yeah, it's one of those like he makes the move now and it maybe leads to something else down the line, whatever. I
Yeah.
mean, the Raptors are 6 games behind the Bulls for the 10th seed. I mean, they're the team separating them and like we'll say the 8th seed is the Hawks, who I mentioned traded some key rotational players.
They'll
The
fall.
Chicago Bulls, who are a fucking mess.
Please fall.
The Sixers, who I don't know what the fuck is going on in Philly anymore.
Question
Embiid's
mark,
talking about
question
getting
mark.
knee surgeries and blah, blah, blah. I don't fucking know.
Yep.
And then the Brooklyn Nets, who shouldn't. I mean, at this point in the season, they need to start losing games because they should not be the 12th seed right now. So it's like I don't know. I don't think the Raptors. Maybe they sneak into the play-in or something like that. Maybe they leapfrog over teams like Atlanta, Chicago, Brooklyn. But yeah, I think this is just like you said. It might be just a move that sets up something down the line or might lead into something else. Because I don't know. I saw this. And I'm like, out of all the teams to have traded for Brandon Ingram, I just thought that it was just a strange one. That's all.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then the Washington Wizards. We'll end it with them. They they loaded up with talent, Jerry, pushing for second half of the season with Chris Middleton and Marcus Smart. Really, just what you don't believe? You're not on the same page as me. You don't think that?
Oh no.
You don't think that the Wizards are stockpiled with talent now to carry them into the playoffs? The Washington Wizards, they made some moves. They got rid of Kuzma, who's been on the trade block for God knows how long at this point. Sends him to Milwaukee, which I'm more. I don't know why Milwaukee. I mean, Milwaukee, you get a more versatile scorer. You get a little bit more like a guy that can play the 3-4. But at the same time, I don't think this move makes them better. I don't think it makes the Bucks better.
I think about it like this though. What were you getting at Chris Middleton the last 2
Not
years?
much, not much. But
I
at the
think
same
Chris
time,
Middleton's knees are cooked. I'm not gonna lie.
his knees are absolutely cooked. Yeah, he's this year. It's probably the last one where we're probably going to be mentioning Chris Middleton like a semi decent light. I think after this season he's going to like really go downhill. But I just don't think Kyle Kuzma. What has Chris Middleton given you? 100% get that. What's Kyle Kuzma going to give you? He gives the Wizards 14 points a game on 28% shooting from three. He's going to Milwaukee with Giannis and Dame. He's surrounded by better players and can lead to better opportunities. But I don't think, in the grand scheme, I think of, all right, what moves can the Bucks make to make Giannis happy and to keep him around long term? And then I see them get Kyle Kuzma, and I think to myself, I don't think this is the move that keeps him around.
I'll put it like this. I don't think it's a terrible move, really, from a standpoint that Kyle Kuzma, I think, is a better product when he's surrounded by better products.
Sure.
So, like, we've
been kind of blinded by that the last few years of him being in Washington.
He's played in Washington, so it's kind of like, and those stats that you listed out for him are terrible. Since you do play for the Washington Wizards, you should at least
expect more. You'd expect him to be like a 20-point per game scorer, high teens or something.
I get that. Like that is kind of concerning, but he played his best basketball, obviously, with LeBron and Anthony Davis. Mm-hmm. Now there's another situation that you get to land in with another ball-dominant player like Giannis and Dame, to where I think the impact could kind of show itself later down the road, especially in the postseason. You could say he was a top 6 player out in LA, I guess, whenever they won the title, behind like Bron, AD, Rondo, and whoever else you want to throw in that mix. But I think it kind of makes sense here for them to take a swing on a younger player that could possibly give similar numbers like Chris Middleton kind of gave him.
Sure.
Like, I get from a team chemistry standpoint, it's probably like, oh, no, you keep Middleton. But like we just both agreed on, Middleton's knees are probably on its last piece of cartilage.
Scrambled eggs.
Yes. So
yeah,
I don't mind the move. I think it kind of makes sense. Is it going to be a franchise-altering Giannis keeping move? I don't know. Probably not. We'll see what happens in the postseason.
I think it's just like a move that just keeps you where you are. Yeah. I don't think it takes you to the next level. I mean, maybe it does. I think there's more potential of it. I think there's more potential of it becoming like being really good for the team than it is like worse. I don't think Kyle Kuzma is going to come in there and make the team astronomically worse. I think he could make them better. But as of right now, I think they're just going to stay the same.
That's fair.
But all right, so those are like really the big trades. Do you have any other trades or like other moves? Anything you really want to bring up or talk about before we close it off here?
Ben Simmons signing with the LA Clippers, which is
did sign with the LA Clippers. And my favorite part about that was the graphic. And then the caption was, "Who's stopping this team?" And then the replies was just a cropped version of just Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not, I think it's interesting from a standpoint that, and maybe I'm on this bus alone, but somewhere, somehow, he can still find an impact. And I just think it has to be with,
how old is Ben Simmons?
probably your age. Maybe.
Let's see. Ben Simmons' age. 28. He's actually your age. Oldie. Me and you, we've discussed this before. I do believe somewhere deep down that there's something there, because Ben Simmons is a former All-Star. He was a guy that was in Defensive Player of the Year conversations, and then something happens, a downward spiral up here on a lot of things. It's been a long 5 years.
Yes.
Because that was like 2019 or something like that.
That's insane.
Maybe no, I think it was 2021 because it was post-pandemic. Either way, it's been it feels like in 5 years. I don't know if the Clippers, I don't know what team he could go to that's going to cause this resurgence, right? I think Brooklyn was going to be like an option because, especially after KD and Kyrie left, Ben Simmons is going to be there. He can kind of, take over, kind of show that he can be a leader, whatever. Didn't really see that. Injuries kept popping up. I hope we see something good from Ben Simmons. I mean, I'm more happy that I hope he does something well in LA, because if he sound the Cavs, I wouldn't feel the same way, because I wouldn't want him to have a resurgence, because that would be terrible for the Celtics.
Yeah.
But I do hope that, we see something out of Ben Simmons in LA, or they allow him to flourish and he takes advantage of the opportunity, and that could lead to something down the line.
Maybe it's like that Russell Westbrook role where you run with this second unit. You kind of see what happens.
Sure.
Kind of find your footing again. Back.
Doesn't have to be a starter.
No.
You put him in situations where he's comfortable, and you can allow him to get his confidence back. Again, is LA the place to be? I don't know, but we'll find out, I guess.
I think playing with an established coach for the first time, probably in his career. I'm trying. I don't know if I'm missing anybody, but it's Brett Brown.
I was going to say Brett Brown, maybe. He didn't. Who else was in the Sixers after him?
In Brooklyn, it was Steve Nash for a little bit,
right.
And then Jordy Fernandez takes over.
He's never had consistency.
Now you have Tyronn Lue. So a guy that knows a thing or 90 about the game, that can kind of put you in the right position to succeed. Because again, I know that James Harden eventually pushed Russell Westbrook out, but Ben Simmons probably fits better because of the 6'10" size, because of the handle, because of the playmaking. I think with this second unit, I'm not saying he returns to all-star form. I'm saying that he finally finds value as a productive role player. That's my hope. That's my wish for Ben Simmons, because golly, man, you still got it. It's somewhere there. You had it once upon a time. Bring it back out. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, no, 100%. Listen, at one point, Ben Simmons was being compared to LeBron James, and that there's a reason for all that, right? Yeah. So I'm not saying that we're going to be seeing him turn into prime LeBron James. I mean, he's 28. He's technically in his prime years. So I hope that he takes advantage of the fact. Not comparing him to LeBron by any means, but hopefully things work out for him. But yeah, I think that's all we got, Jerry. I don't think there's really... Oh, yeah, I mean, how could we not bring up the blockbuster trade of the Celtics traded Jaden Springer to the Houston Rockets for a second-round pick? I completely forgot to mention that.
The loser in this trade is that Jaden, you don't get the possible repeat, buddy. Sorry.
No, we did sign Torrey Craig though, who if you guys are a history of this channel and have watched our shorts and stuff, he was in a very classic game like a year ago or something like that. Now he's a Boston Celtics.
So I like it.
All comes around full circle. But yeah, I think that's all we got for you guys today. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode number 75. We appreciate you joining us today and the 74 episodes before. I can't wait for you guys to join us for the next 25 leading into 100. Hope you guys subscribe, put in the comments your thoughts on these trades that happen, these new players and new faces, what you think it means for these teams moving forward, thoughts on Luka, AD, all that stuff. If you're an audio-only listener, please give us a 5-star review and rating. We appreciate it so much. And we will see you guys here next week for episode 76.
Have a good day, everybody.